We have already started this experimentation, knowing full well that people have started complaining. Yeah, well, from the time that we've always had, well, leaders, irrespective of democratic leaders, military leaders, their people have never benefited the way it's you just exposed. People would have thought that maybe when President A was there, his region would have gotten the best of development, but it has never shown that. And your line of argument is that we have some vice presidents that should also take care of their geopolitical zones.
Yeah, so when I said it does not mean that if he takes it, he's going to take a Ministry of Finance to his state and be managing it for his state. What I'm saying is that, first of all, it creates an inclusiveness perception. And also, it is a responsibility to a vice president. You see, when you give technocrats the management of our economy, a technocrat is somebody that is not elected, and is somebody that can tomorrow take the next flight and leave the country and blame everybody blame politicians for what happens. I think that it is high time we allow the politicians who are elected to manage our economy and manage the economic the affairs of this country, and so that we can hold them responsible for the next election, so that we can tell them this is what you did wrong and this is what you did right during your tenure as a vice president. So that's the line of thinking I'm following.
Because a whole lot you raised, and I don't know how this will be brought to the discourse. Again, you said something that has to do with the health sector, the education sector, wanting a law that will bar public officers from going abroad for health reasons, even education.
Suleiman, thank you for raising this question. Let me tell you, look at our universities today are on strike. If all the leaders of our country, their children are studying in Nigeria, living in Nigeria, I will tell you this problem will be resolved. You see, we must make it compulsory that anybody, because that's what China does, anybody that's in public office must be a servant of the people, not the master of the people. So that's what I'm suggesting. If I want to be president of Nigeria, I will go there to serve Nigerians with all my capabilities, hoping that Nigerians will appreciate if I do very well. Now, the issue of healthcare is this. Why I put it is this. If we make Nigerian leaders to go to our local hospitals, I will tell you that sooner than later we'll build 5-star hospitals in Nigeria, because they will look for ways to bring investors to invest in good hospitals that they will benefit from. But as long as we allow them to go overseas for their medical treatment, they have nothing to lose. They are not affected. So why should they bother about building good hospitals for citizens when at the end of the day it's not a priority to them, because at the end of the day they find themselves treated overseas? It's unfortunate. It is appalling that our leaders fly out of the country when they have headache and they announce it and celebrate it when they are coming back. They went to London to treat themselves because they had a minor headache, and they went to America, or that we announced that our former leader, this and that, died overseas and we brought home. So it is unfortunate.
Well, first of all, Mr. Nwegba, we can't say that all of them, they don't all have their kids outside the country. And besides, some of the policies which you're advocating, let me get you back to this one, which you think strongly about. What kinds of issues? How will this conference promote industrialization? Because that's one of the matters you've written about, which we have also come across. So could you shed some light on that one? Because some think the managers of the economy have that responsibility. If they do it a little better than they're doing now, we won't be talking about it as a challenge.
Thank you so very much for raising this question. First of all, let me tell you, because Nigerians are sovereign, Nigerians can decide that an international agreement we have entered is no longer valid through a referendum. If we had a referendum where we said that Nigeria's membership, WTO membership should be declared null and void by the citizens who participated in this national conference, Nigeria will quickly exit WTO. If we are able to exit WTO, it means that we can now formulate industrialization policy that promote local industries, small businesses, private sector to lead the industrialization of this country without foreign-made goods displacing them. Currently, because Nigeria is part of globalization, which is driven by WTO, World Trade Organization, foreign-made goods, which are cheaper because locally made goods are more expensive because cost of doing business in Nigeria is very high, are dumped in Nigeria, and as a result, they displace our small businesses, our manufacturers, and as a result, we lose jobs and we lose focus on industrialization. If we could exit WTO and make it mandatory through a law that every state will pursue industrialization as quickly as possible, including building industrial parks, including states being mandated to every month build a model factory, that a factory in a specific industry that individuals cannot build, and lease them out to citizens who can run them and pay leases until eventually they are able to pay and own such factories. I will assure you, Nigerian industrialization will be a matter of time.
But you have people who think that you don't even have to go that route. First of all, some basic things have got to be put in place here. Some of them think if you sort the electricity challenge out, there will be a major leap in terms of making the locally manufactured goods very competitive. Secondly, they talk about favorable policies, access to credit. They talk about, even the locally manufactured goods that are of quality are not being patronized. And so they think, look, if these few basic things are addressed, you wouldn't even have to go that far to look at the WTO or exiting the WTO.
I don't disagree with you, Chamberlain. I have been one of those advocating the need to invest massively in infrastructure because we have minimum 250 infrastructure deficit. But unfortunately, federal government is not doing that. And as it continues not to do that, people take advantage of our membership in WTO. Now, if government could invest massively in infrastructure, at least it will reduce the cost of doing business. But right now, we're not doing it. But don't forget that the more we invest in infrastructure, the more those countries taking advantage of our weaknesses, modernize and advance their own infrastructure to become more and more competitive than Nigeria. So let us invest in a power sector. And I'm advocating that besides privatization, there's a need for federal government to be actively involved in the power sector. We can, as I have always advocated, use part of our 42.5 billion barrels of oil, 3 billion as a collateral, and be able to use it to raise substantial amount of money to build minimum of 100,000 megawatts of power. With 100,000 megawatts of power, high power consuming factories, industries will come to Nigeria. And also, don't bear in mind that if we could ban foreign-made goods or put high tariffs on foreign-made goods, those countries that are dumping their goods in Nigeria will be forced to relocate their factories to Nigeria, especially those labor-intensive, high-polluting factories could be relocated to Nigeria. China did it in 1979 and the 80s, and that is what drove China to what it is today. So there's nothing wrong with combining all these things together. We cannot expand our power sector through the process we are going now. Privatizing is okay because it creates efficiency, but at the same time, the private sector does not have the kind of resources that are needed in order to, have up to 100,000 megawatts. I'm proposing. Federal government must find another way to generate revenue and to be part of the building of development of the power sector.
Well, some interesting points you raised there, but unfortunately we're completely at a time. We can't even delve into that. Well, thank you for coming on, though. Mr. Odelim Emegbara is a development economist.